Women on Wealth is proudly sponsored by First for Women, celebrating leading women.
Women are not new to the tourism and hospitality sectors, but they've only just recently begun climbing into positions of leadership in the last 3 decades. Hello and welcome to Women on Wealth. I'm Nozi Pombandra. Now, the hospitality industry remains a male-dominated one, particularly in South Africa. But today we meet 3 ladies who have persevered in their journey. Samantha Croft, she's the general manager of the Tsogo, Elangeni and Maharani complex in Durban, Natal, and Lindiwe, Sangweni-Siddo, a woman at the helm of 2 leading Johannesburg hotels. We also get to know internationally acclaimed hotelier Grace Leo-Andrieu. According to a Cornell University report, although many women begin their professional careers in the hospitality industry, very few remain in the industry long enough to reach the top. To understand why, I chatted with Samantha Croft, General Manager of the Tsogo, Elangeni and Maharani complex located in the East Coast city of Durban. She was recently recognized as the most influential woman in business and government in the tourism and leisure sector by CEO Communications Africa. Thank you so much for making the time to join us. Let's take a couple of steps back and let's go back to your early influences. What do you think has been the greatest influencer that has led you to where you are today?
Happened to be a lady, and one that was quite tough, and I think I always aspired to be like her. She just didn't take no for an answer and bowed down, and didn't bow down to any man either.
So would that also mean that you're also tough on your team? And how would your team describe Samantha in work mode?
I think they do think I'm tough, but if I wasn't tough, I don't think I'd be able to do the job that I do today. It's quite a responsibility running the size property that I run. It's the biggest in the Tsogo group. So if I was a little bit weak, or I didn't keep an eye on most things, you know, it wouldn't be successful, and therefore they wouldn't have jobs. So I think they kind of see me as tough on the one hand, but there are some areas where, you know, we do have the human element, and there's a lot of empathy, and we need to make sure that people are happy where they are.
Samantha, you had the benefit of having a very influential female manager in your life. How do we then get more Samanthas into the boardroom and leading large properties such as yourself?
I think you've got to take it down to the level of trainees. You know, the youngsters that are coming through the ranks, they've just left school, they're ambitious. They've got to learn 2 things. Every one of them, the guys as well as the girls, need to know that they've got to do their 10,000 hours. So they've got to have that firm foundation. But for the females, I often say to them, you know, you can't be expected to be treated with kid gloves because you're a lady and the rules are different, but yet you want the promotions and all the benefits that come along with the job.
We always talk about balance in many of these conversations, especially where we're urging women to toughen up and get on with it. Is there such a thing? And if there is, have you found it?
I don't think I've found balance, but I think I have learned to toughen up and get on with it. You know, I think women need to, and a lot of successful women do portray like a tough side at work, so that they don't show the chinks in their armor, so that especially if they're in a male-dominated environment, that there's no one there that they show their vulnerable side to. But, you know, you've always just got to get on with it. I mean, I think most females are used to doing that, because you've got to sometimes balance your home life with children and running a house and having a career. But it's no use crying over it.
Can you give us a snapshot to get a better understanding of what the dynamics in the industry look like? Do we have an idea of how many women would occupy the same level as where you are now, and whether there's enough to grow the pipeline to increase that number?
It's definitely not balanced in terms of male-female, although it is a lot better. I think when I started out in the industry, there were very few female general managers. There are a lot more female general managers now, and I don't think that there's too much discrimination. I think in general, a lot of hotel companies out there and hotel executives, do give females the jobs based on merit. But I also do think that there are a lot of females that come through from school, and there's definitely enough to feed, for the future generation.
The tough general manager at work, who makes the decisions at home?
Me.
Lindiwe Sangweni-Siddo is the founder and general manager of Johannesburg's 4-star Soweto Hotel and Conference Center since 2009. 3 years ago, she was also appointed as the managing director of the Birchwood Hotel and Ora Tambo Conference Center. Now, the two venues are about 50 kilometers away from each other. And for someone whose career in this industry spans 25 years, navigating the Johannesburg traffic appears to be the most challenging part of her day. Chatting with her in the presidential suite of the Soweto Hotel, she let us in on the lessons she's learned along the way. Lindiwe, thank you so much for making the time to join us. Give us some idea how you've managed to have this phenomenal career where we find you sitting as the CEO of 2 properties. How does that even happen?
It really began with a passion that when I was about 18 years old, straight out of school, I somehow knew that I wanted to go into the hospitality field. My parents had lived overseas, and I think travel made me get the bug or the inspiration. So I studied hotel management, and I'm proud to say I'm a hotelier. But most of it really, I would say, is attributed to the fact that I've done my time. It's been a over 25-year journey of not just schooling, but being exposed to different products, working in different environments, and starting from the bottom, working my way up. And I tell this a lot to employees or staff who ask, And yes, I started with cleaning toilets and housekeeping and checking people in and answering the phone and basically doing all the different aspects of running a hotel, to the point that when I now became a manager in whatever area, from HR, human resources, to what we call rooms division, and so on, I found it much more easier to move through those departments, having started from the bottom.
Would you then say that it is absolutely important for one to have a very well-rounded understanding and experience of the business if they are to ascend to a chief executive level?
It helps a lot. And in our industry, the hospitality industry, is a very practical one. I always simplify it and say, even though I'm the CEO, my job is to make sure that the fried eggs are sunny side up if that's what the guest wants. The bacon is crispy and the beds are made. It's quite a simple, basic sort of industry. And so yes, I think to be well-rounded, it helps to have come through that way. Some young people will sometimes come straight out of university and believe that degree opens the door to the title manager or CEO. But it's over time, there's obviously other aspects, understanding financial aspects and making sure that you remember that besides your guests, you've got your shareholders and the owners and those people who have invested in the hotel.
But you've also done your time in an academic sense. But what I do notice is that you've studied abroad, and maybe because of the kind of upbringing that you had, being outside of the country and traveling quite a lot. But if you were to reflect on that experience and marry it with what we have in South Africa in terms of the quality of institutions, do you get a sense that we've got strong institutions that can really bring good hoteliers to the industry, or is there space for improvement?
Look, I think we've got very fine schools. We work a lot as a hotel, or the 2 hotels that I'm currently running with schools that have an international, I think, sort of, platform. And you do have to be careful, because on the other hand, there are also some fly-by-nights. But we have some good schools that are bringing in some good candidates. And I would say you don't really have to go far in order to get the quality that we need. I also want to stress that we work a lot with young people who just have a great attitude and want to be in the hotel industry, with learners. You know, in our country today, where we are really struggling to create jobs, the hospitality industry is one of those wonderful ones where we have a great platform to create opportunities for young people through learnerships. We're well supported at the present moment by government in this regard, and that too is a nice way to enter the industry.
So the barriers to entry aren't very high, but let's maybe speak to the woman who is at management level now and wants to get to the executive space. From your personal experience of leadership in this particular space, what are some of the tools or the crutches that that woman can hold on to as she begins to take on that corporate ladder in this particular industry?
So if you're already a manager, I would take it that you've really done your time operationally and you've got the nuts and bolts of what it takes to be on the ground and to understand what a room should look like or what a food and beverage experience should be. The big challenge I always see with managers, and this is my advice to young women out there who are looking to move up the ranks, it's important to focus on the administrative side. Focus on running of administration and supporting your operational experience with that. And sometimes it's even a good idea to take a course. I've encouraged that always with people that I work with, colleagues that I'm with. Currently, I have my entire executive committee and senior management team on executive coaching. We're literally all going through executive coaching because we recognize that we have to complement our leadership and management skills with exterior focus. Focusing on finances. Many managers get to the top and can't read a profit and loss income statement. And that becomes a hindrance when it's now time to really take the next steps and be in a leadership position where you have to account, as I said, to shareholders or to owners or investors who want to know, show us the money.
Now, every week we bring you a powerful woman who's flexing her muscles on the global stage. Grace Leo-Andrieu was appointed Vice President of the International Warwick Hotel Group at just 27 years old. And now she runs her own company called GLA Hotels. Let's take a look at her story.
58-year-old Grace Leo-Andrieu was born in Hong Kong. With a wealth of industry knowledge under her belt and perhaps in her blood, she formed her own company in 1985. GLA Hotels, based in Paris, is a management, development and marketing consultancy specializing in style and service-focused boutique hotels. GLA Hotels boasts a track record of over 20 successful hotel projects around the world. Grace is now based in New York. Grace Leo-Andrieu, redefining power in the global hospitality sector.
And on that note, we've come to the end of this week's episode of Women on Wealth. Let's keep the conversation going, talking to me on Twitter at @NoziPombandra, and of course using our hashtag #Wow410. We want to know which woman is redefining the concept of power in your world. Until next time, stay empowered.